Ford Focus 2012 through 2018 manual swap part 3, automatic transmission removal. I already have 2 videos on how to remove the automatic transmission. I will link them below. The first one was doing it on a lift, and I was very slow with it, showing every nut and bolt. Then there's one doing it in the driveway, where I was a little quicker. Now this time, I'm just gonna try something different. Go quicker through it, tell you what you need to do, go through it fast. First thing I did, I just took the covers off the battery. Next, I want to pull the air filter, air box out. Go ahead and pull up on this little red clip. If you're having trouble with it, you can utilize a 50 BMG to pop it up. Okay. Loosen the clamp on the throttle body for the hose. It's either a 7 or an 8 millimeter. Disconnect these 2 hoses. They're quick release. You just squeeze on the blue, push it in. Now on this, turn this over here like that and pull back. Push in on this release here and pull the mass air sensor up, connector. Pull it out right here. Put it aside. Next you can, you might have a flap that you need to pull up right here. Mine's missing. Grab onto the hose here, twist and pull. Now come right here. Now grab in the middle. Slow down, Big Ben. It's not a drag race. That's how you break your airbox. Take the battery out. Everything's 10 millimeter here. Battery trays held on with 3 10 millimeter bolts. There's one right there and one down in here. Take this bolt out. Holding this air baffle thingy on here. Once the battery tray is out, pop any wires off the side here and right here. Then take these 4 nuts off. 1, 2, 3, and 4. They're 15 millimeter. Go ahead and pop the vent out for the transmission. Put it aside. Just pop the shifter cable off here. Got a cat claw here. There we go. Take those 2 10 millimeter bolts off right here. And right there. That's holding the shifter cable bracket down. Got an extension in there with the 10 millimeter. Pulled it out from underneath these 2 hoses here. Stuck it away to the side so it doesn't get in the way. Now there's 3 upper bell housing bolts holding the transmission to the engine. Right there. There's 2 of them right there. And the 3rd is on the far side over there on the top. Having a flashlight down there helps. And also I recommend putting this on the bolt head first and then putting the tool on the back of it to take it off. Let's go ahead and get the upper TCM connector off of here. Push in where you feel a little square. Pull the lever with your thumb. Push downward with it. That little square that you push down is just a release mechanism for the lever. Let me show you. Right there. That releases the lever and you can push it down. And just like that, the top end is done. I'll leave that mounting there for now until we can support the bottom of the engine. Before we go on the land down underneath the car, let me show you. Try to get you a good angle here. You see that bolt in the middle of the camera? That is the upper bell housing bolt. There's 2 of them, one right underneath there, next to the catalytic converter. Right down in there. Get those out from the top. It's not going to be fun from the bottom. I recommend using a wrench on those 2 bolts. Get them loose enough where you can turn them by hand and push them out. You're not going to be able to get them all the way out. Just get them away from the transmission. Just slide them out. Okay, I've got them backed out. Let's come over here. Go ahead and get both axle nuts off. 32 millimeter. Recommended 1/2 inch impact. Oh, that was easy. Next, you can go ahead and get your ball joints out. You've got an 18 millimeter nut on this side for the pinch bolt and a Torx 55 on the... Normally it's a Torx 55. This is an aftermarket nut and bolt. You can also take this 8 millimeter off, get the brake hose loose on both sides. All right, boys, once the ball joints are popped out, you can slide the axle through. You might need to punch it. In order to pop the ball joint out, I recommend putting a long pry bar in right through that hole in the control arm and pushing down. If you have the stamped steel control arm, you can go from the other side, and there's a hole in the underside of the control arm. You can just pop it down. But now I'm going to go ahead with the pry bar, go on the inside edge of the axle and just pop it out on both sides. The other side has a little strap on it that you just need to take off and it'll slide out. The next thing you want to do is get underneath the vehicle, unbolt the starter, turn the engine over clockwise, and unbolt all the clutch nuts. Now this is what I'm going to use. I'm going to use this to unbolt the starter mounting bolts. I'm going to hang the starter out of the way, leave the wires connected. There's a little rubber grommet in there that you have to pull out after the starter's out of the way. And I have a 21 millimeter socket wrench. I'm going to turn the engine over with the crankshaft. There's the crankshaft pulley right there with the 21 millimeter bolt on it. Turn the engine over clockwise to access all the clutch nuts once the starter's out of the way. This is what I recommend for loosening and taking out the clutch nuts. It's a mid-deep 13 millimeter 6-point socket, swivel, universal joint, and a 6-inch extension and a Milwaukee M12 impact. Not a sponsor. Laying on cardboard will keep your tushy warm. Ratchets on the crank pulley, you see? There's the old starter right there. It may help to go ahead and get this ground off of here. It is a 13 millimeter nut. There's the strap, and then there's a 13 millimeter bell housing stud behind it. But as you can see, well, you also get this out of the way here. This is the sending unit. Be careful when you pull the transmission out and put the new one in that you don't smash this and rip it apart. That's common. But yeah, take these two 13 millimeter studs off that's holding the starter down, utilizing your wrench, and you can hang the starter out of the way. If this strap here doesn't want to slide off, then I recommend just getting a cat claw, trying to pop it off. But if it's seized on here, what I usually do is I just get an air hammer and just nudge it right here, and it'll pop it loose and it'll come right off. Okay. All right, boys, in order to get the starter where it needs to go, you do need to come under here and take that 15 millimeter bolt off and the 15 millimeter bolt where my finger is, so you can get this all loose and moving around here. I went ahead and took this bracket off as well. That goes on the transmission, since we'll no longer be needing it with the manual. There you go. With that mount out of the way, we can now push the engine back a little bit and get the starter out of the way. Now get your hand up here where the starter was, and you'll feel a little rubber grommet. That's how it goes in, with the two notches right here facing this way, kind of like this. Anyway, that rubber piece out of the way, you can come up in here and feel around for a clutch nut. If you don't feel one, it's okay. Just come over here and turn the engine over until you feel one. When you feel one right in the middle here, go ahead and take it off with your impact in that 6-inch extension, and swivel, and 13 millimeter socket, and repeat 6 more times, and all your clutch nuts will be off. Okay. There they are. I am laying underneath the car in this manner here, and that does make removing the clutch nuts a lot easier. It's really not that bad when you do it like that. And you don't have to pull the intake manifold off to do it either. Okay. So the next thing you can do while you're down here, take the last 4 bell housing bolts off. There's one here, and one here, and then one up on the corner here, right there. Take those off, and you'll be almost ready to pull this transmission out. Isn't that awesome? All right, boys, now that the bell housing bolts and all that are out, I've got a block of wood under here on the oil pan. And I do have an engine crane with a chain attached to this eyelet on top of the transmission. That eyelet is a perfect position to maintain levelness and balance of the transmission. So now that that's on there, go ahead and take this mount off right here. It's an 18 millimeter bolt. And then there's 13 millimeter bolts holding the mount bracket under it. Make sure the block of wood under there hasn't shifted and it's still underneath the oil pan. So the chain is tensioned up here, of course, because the mount is out. And there's the bolts holding this bracket on that you have to remove. Another one right down in there. And that has a nut on it and then another bolt underneath it. Transmission is loose, so now you just need to muscle it on out of here. As you're lowering it down, try to nudge it forward if you can, the transmission, so that the back part of it doesn't just hit the subframe and stop. So pull forward as you lower it. Getting her on out of there. Stop if it sounds expensive. Come on. There she comes. Ooh. Stop. Don't crush anything up here. She's on the ground. Detach the chain and slide her on out onto the car. There you have it, boys. It's a girl. And that is part 3 of the manual swap series. And this is how to remove the automatic transmission. Coming up next in the series, I do have shifter installation and clutch pedal installation. That'll be next. So thank you for watching. All right, let me know if you have any comments below. Bye-bye.